Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly is interviewing Amanuel Gebremeskel, the CEO of the Southern African Institute of Steel Construction, to discuss some of the key trends happening in the steel construction industry.
From our perspective, the steel sector is, I would say it's not necessarily in its best shape. We do have a number of projects, both public and private, that our members are busy with. It's not necessarily the best of times in terms of large stadiums and the kinds of projects we remember from maybe 15 years ago, but we continue to produce steel and fabricate and use it to different public and private use. The one you hear about a lot, and of course you've also been writing about it quite a bit, is ArcelorMittal's challenges with their long products division in Newcastle. Without getting into too much technical details, but primarily they're not finding themselves to be competitive with other suppliers, right? Irrespective of what the reason is for that. We are, let's say, careful not to get involved in those types of disputes. So we might have our own opinions, but we try to stay very technical in the sense of how to make all of South African industry competitive relative to the rest of the world. Where the steel comes from, it matters, but not as much as it might sound in the news. So if it so happens that steel has to come from Europe and then get fabricated here to go into a mine, that's also acceptable from our point of view. We would prefer that the steel come from South Africa, from ArcelorMittal and other mills. But we don't believe that the rest of the industry should be held captive to the needs of only a few members of our industry, because we look at it holistically. I think the South African steel industry is significantly more sustainable than any single company in it. And that's a very important point to actually communicate. We want everyone to succeed, but we also want the industry to succeed despite challenges that some companies may have. Because I read the news and it's almost like the way it's written is always, ArcelorMittal is in trouble and that's it, this is the end of our industry. And you always see that those numbers of employees, they always talk about, for example, 3,500 employees at Newcastle. Now, we want those people to keep their jobs. We want Newcastle to continue. But the industry as a whole employs about 500,000 people, 600,000. So it's also a bit unfair to talk about just one company, one location in one company, in fact, not even about a company, because they don't plan, the ArcelorMittal doesn't plan to close down. They're talking about one specific business, and painting the whole industry. And of course, we see the effect because we have owners and others who come to us and say, we have a project that we plan to do in Namibia. So should we just bring all our steel from China because it looks like the industry is shutting down? We're like, no, of course it's not. This is actually not true at all. We can definitely manufacture and do your projects in Namibia. It has nothing to do with, maybe one division of a company. Our industry is much bigger and more resilient than that. So in that sense, we see a very negative PR. We see a negative impact of that PR campaign, and that's why I'm trying to correct it by saying our industry is significantly more sustainable and resilient than one division of one company. So yes, we want that to stay open, but we also want it out there in the news that we could deliver projects from many different sources of steel. We're not limited to only one source of steel. The key thing that we have in South Africa, where we have a huge advantage, is that we have very sophisticated designers and engineers. We have very good universities. And we have fabricators and construction companies that are very good at logistics, at fabricating things, at putting them up.
That was Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly, speaking to Amanuel Gebremeskel,